Hi, my name is Melissa Skeepers, and today I'm here with Joanne Bester on her farm in the Richmond district named Leopard's Fly. We will be discussing why regenerative farming matters. In episode 1, you and Jacques Leroux discussed how the market influences are changing and that this movement is filtering through to farmers. But why is regenerative farming important for farmers other than the marketing influence?
Well, Melissa, if we consider that climate change is really starting to impact us and we are having a lot more periods of intense drought while the rainy seasons are getting a bit wetter, we do have to start considering how are we going to buffer our natural resources to be able to adjust to this. In the current economic climate, we are seeing that the cost of production is incredibly high, and we need to have a look at how we can better utilize our natural resources in response to this to try and get our expenses down so that we can remain a profitable business.
Do you believe that regenerative farming makes economic sense?
I do. If we can improve our ecological health on our farms, and we can over time start having a better quality plant composition and more plants with more leaves, and that photosynthesis process can be accelerated, then over time we can start stocking more animals on our farms, which means we would have more animals to give to market. Originally, when they decided that we need to destock considerably in reaction to overgrazing, now farmers are sort of sitting in a space where overgrazing is still occurring because animals are spending so much time in a camp, but yet they have lowered stock numbers, and so that affects their bottom lines quite severely. Now a drought comes, he lowers his animal numbers even further, and when the rains come, we find that that farmer really struggles to recover his animal numbers and to be able to take off. Now he's already compromising the time that he had to be able to restore his animal numbers before the next drought happens. Now that time's shorter because he's actually so struggling to just get those numbers buffered and enough of them that becomes a problem for him. So if he's got more animals to begin with in the good years, he can bank more money while the good years are allowing him to do so. He then reduces his numbers in response to the drought. He's in a better position.
How can farmers tap into the marketing benefits?
We often see that we've got the protesters and animal activist rights groups that are sort of taking this thing out of proportion with climate change, and they really paint a bad picture for farmers. Now, if we start thinking about the challenges that are arising, we can get very negative about it, or we can decide, well, if we alter our farming methods in a way that is ecologically sound, that's a good story to tell, and we can set the narrative straight, because people seem to forget it's not only a carbon debate. This is an ecological debate. Carbon is only one part of that process. So if you're losing biodiversity, if your soil is busy degrading, that also affects climate change. And those are things that we can quite easily fix. And farmers who are practicing this will start to improve on that, which will have a benefit to the ecological process. And those are the stories we need to be getting out there. It's not as simple as to say, well, let's just get rid of the cows. That's not going to solve the problem, because the cows also play an intricate role in that whole ecosystem functioning.
Is there any reason why farmers should resist this movement?
I don't believe so. On response to what I just said in the previous question, this is an opportunity to set the narrative straight. We can view it as a threat, but we should probably view it as an opportunity and a marketing opportunity. We can tell the world what we can manage to do right. I know that there have been studies conducted in South Africa where they've actually pointed to the fact that well-managed livestock farms have a better biodiversity score than even our game farms. And the reason for that is very simple. You cannot control game, you cannot manage them. So you cannot control the overgrazing that takes place. It's very difficult to do. But you can do that with livestock, which then can fuel the whole ecological system.
Are there any potential warnings to look for when adopting more holistic management practices?
I would say you've got to be very careful about monitoring your animal production. We have to understand that sometimes you will look after your felt and your grazing, so you can put high numbers together and you can really get that accelerated movement onto the ground to be able to get that response. But it wouldn't be a good idea to do that when your animals are highly pregnant or about to start calving. In any times where they're going to be sensitive to stress, that is a time when you've got to back off the pressure. You can't herd them as tight. You're going to have to make sure that they're getting adequate nutrition. So it's going to just be sensible about it. You've got to think about what you want to achieve, think about how you're going to do that, but you cannot compromise your animal's production, because then you're going to be in a problem financially, economically, in not a very long period of time. So I would say the biggest thing that you've got to look for is, while implementing this, is that you keep an eye out on your animal production, which should probably be easy, because within these systems they are designed in such a way that you almost have to go look at those animals once a day to be able to move them. And if you look and take notice, then you will probably be able to catch a drop in production before it becomes a big problem and remedy that. So I would just say, keep an eye out on your animal production. You can't afford to lose that, because we have to remember, nature would never require a sheep to have a lamb every single mating season or every year. We are asking her to have a lamb at least once a year, and sometimes even twice in a year cycle, so about every 8 months. Some people do that. And then we still want her to sometimes raise multiples. So we got to understand, nature has its boundaries, and if we are going to push production, then we're going to have to give that ewe what she needs in order to be able to sustain that production. But this is for certain times in the year, and there will be times when she's less prone to stress and you can look after your veld more intensely.
Thank you, Joanne. That was a very informative session. So in conclusion, the regenerative farming movement can be beneficial to both farmers and the climate crisis.